Alright guys, so that laptop right there that you see on screen is a $500 HP laptop that I bought back in 2021. Let's see how well this budget laptop holds up 4 years later, alright? And let me just tell you, it gets interesting. Alright, so guys, this is going to be, where I show, the degradation of this laptop, alright? So, first problem that I've noticed popping up, the hinge. Not sure if you can hear it, but this hinge is pretty wobbly, and it's also creaking a lot. So yeah, I don't know how long this hinge is going to last. And also, if you see here, this plastic is actually starting to, warp a little bit from the hinge. So, yeah. HP has some pretty serious hinge problems. Get it? HP, hinge problem, which stands for hinge problem, not Hewlett-Packard. Yeah. Anyways, some other things. So if I go ahead and show you back here, you might not be able to see this, but there are a few cracks on the USB ports. And also, W key, I can literally just pop out. If I can show you guys here. Yeah, as you can see here, it's not very stable. Yeah. I can literally just pop it up by accident, but overall, it's not too bad, it's not as bad as I was just thinking. Screen still looks pretty decent, so yeah, in terms of build quality-wise over the years, it's held up, not great, but, it's better than most HP laptops, okay? So yeah, let's go and get on with the rest of the video. Alright, so before we get on with the benchmarks, let's go and get on with the specs, alright? So, first off, this little HP laptop 17 here, well, it's not really little if it's a 17-inch laptop, but basically, it has 32 gigabytes of DDR4, 3200 MHz dual channel RAM. Now, technically, it did come with 12, so we're just imagine that it had 12 gigabytes of RAM and not 32, but honestly, 12 gigabytes is still a decent amount for 2025. In terms of CPU-wise, we have the AMD Ryzen 5 5500U, which runs at 2.1 GHz with a boost clock up to 4 GHz. It's got 6 cores and hyper-threading, which means it's got 12 threads, which is pretty decent, alright? And in terms of storage, we have a 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD with PCI Gen 3 speeds and a 1 terabyte HDD running in SATA 3. Now you see here, this NVMe SSD in here doesn't actually exist. In reality, what it is I added it in there because, the hard drive was just insanely slow. So if this had its original hard drive, it is a no-go, alright? GPU-wise, we have the AMD Radeon TM graphics with 448 shading units, which is meh. It's like GT 1030 levels of performance. It's not bad for integrated graphics, but still not great at all for 2025. But look here, it's better than junk, alright? It's still got some life left in it, thanks to that 6-core processor, so yeah, let's go and see how well this runs the general usage benchmarks, alright? And after that, let's run the gaming ones, alright? Alright, so in terms of general usage, you can expect to play 1080p 60 FPS video perfectly fine, and in fact, 4K 60 FPS video also works perfectly fine, although 8K 60 FPS is a bit too much for it. Although 8K 30 FPS is alright. There's a lot of all those here. And also, that's pretty decent for a $500 laptop that I bought 4 years ago. And also, in terms of actually browsing the web, this Ryzen 5, although it may be old, it is not slow, alright? Even though it's released in 2021, it's not even based off Zen 3, it's based off Zen 2. It is still packs a big punch, alright? It can load a lot of YouTube tabs at once without even hitching up. And thanks to its 12 threads, we can load up multiple tabs at once, and this thing will just do it perfectly fine, no chugging. Although, if you do load up like 2 or 3 or 4 8K videos at the same time, it may chug, but it's not too bad, alright? And mostly the video playback, the situation with that is that the Radeon graphics just don't have the decoding power. But anyways, let's go and get on with the gaming benchmarks, shall we? Starting off strong, we have a great result from the very intensive BeamNG drive, which ran in 900p or HD Plus as HP calls it, which is the native resolution of this laptop with the low settings. Keep in mind, the game low settings actually looks alright, and they aren't the lowest the game goes down to. The game ran with averages of 67 FPS and 1% lows down to 49 due to minor spikes in the frame times. More intensive maps may lead to a 30 FPS experience rather than 60, but overall, BeamNG is a solid pass and ran much better than it did last time, which is a little bit odd considering that the game has seen some more intensive updates rather than optimizations, but who knows? BeamNG is BeamNG, and it ran alright, that's all we care. Next up, with a well-known game, GTA 5 Enhanced Edition is running at the same resolution as BeamNG, which is 900p with the minimum graphics preset. The game ran alright with averages of 41% lows down to 28 when things got rough. Explosions will decrease performance and grass will definitely drop those FPS figures real down. Overall, GTA 5 Enhanced, while not running with ray tracing, did perform pretty well. On to the next benchmark. Also, I'm not sure if real down is English. Sorry about that. Next up, we have Skyrim Special Edition running at 900p with the high settings preset. The game ran pretty smoothly with averages of 38, 1% lows down to 33. More intensive areas will make this number fluctuate slightly, and vice versa for closed-in areas like caves. Special potion effects can also cause the FPS to fluctuate a little bit depending on what the effect is caused by that potion, the visual effects. The game also looks pretty good for how it was running. I mean, high settings on this laptop, getting above 30 FPS, that's pretty decent. Overall, Skyrim SE, which stands for Special Edition if you didn't know, while a bit of an older game, is still moderately intensive and will run perfectly on the slightly old $500 laptop, which, pretty cool. Next up, we have Wreckfest. Now, I do apologize to you, the quality of the capture is a bit bad for some reason on this game specifically. The game ran at 900p again, at the low settings preset, which still looks alright considering what the game is and what it's running on. The lowest preset would be lowest, so this is actually slightly above the lowest preset. Wreckfest running at these settings was able to achieve a decent result of 61 FPS on average, with 1% lows down to 48, so a decent 60 FPS experience. More cars in a different map will affect your FPS slightly, as well as multiplayer, but that doesn't really affect it too much. But overall, Wreckfest is playable on this laptop, which was a little bit surprising. On to the next benchmark. Next up, with an oldie but a goodie, we have Garry's Mod here running at 900p with the max settings. The game looks really good with these settings and also runs really well. The game ran with averages of 72 FPS and 1% lows down to 54. The game will run worse on more intensive maps or if you're doing anything related to explosions, which we all know that Garry's Mod players will do that, but Garry's Mod still remains playable on this laptop, which was expected considering the game's age and this laptop's age. Yeah, this game's pretty old if you know what I mean. Next up, with a new benchmark, we have Hollow Knight Silksong, which ran at max settings at 900p and delivered us a very high refresh rate experience with averages of 189 FPS, 1% lows down to 142. The game can handle higher FPS figures very well overall, and the game is just very playable, which is expected for the style of game. Yeah, if you don't know, Hollow Knight Silksong on a 5070 will max the 5070 out, but it'll run at like 5,000 frames per second, so yeah. Honestly, you could have like a 144Hz monitor and still be perfectly fine with this game. Second to last benchmark here, we have Minecraft Java running with Sodium and Iris, and with some fancy shaders. The shaders in question are Silver's Vibrant Light shaders, which look great and run well on older or slower hardware. The game was set to 10 chunks as this laptop has a decent CPU, meaning it would get very little stutters, even on single player worlds. The game ran very well with these shaders, as shown the averages of 71 and 1% lows down to 43 when chunks were loaded in. Minecraft is a solid pass on this laptop. I mean, it is a block game from 2009, so yeah, who would have expected it? On to the last benchmark, and also for any of you OG people out there, you might recognize this world, which, wink wink. Last up, we have Crysis. This is a game that represents how older, more demanding titles will run on this laptop, and this laptop can easily handle them, well, at least games from the era of Crysis. At 900p high settings, which is pretty good looking, even on a game from 2008. This game, it does not look like a game from 2008. Actually, it might be from 2007. At high settings, the game easily achieved an average of 51 FPS and 1% lows down to 45, thanks to the supported drivers and a decent GPU horsepower. Yes, it can run Crysis, which, I mean, these days saying that kind of sounds kind of cringe and cheesy because, like, that's a saying that we use, like, 20 years ago almost. But yeah, still, it is insane how Crysis will run on anything these days. On to the conclusion. Alright, so, in conclusion, how well do I think this laptop did? Well, considering its age and its price at the time, it is doing pretty well in 2025, especially since it's almost 2026. And the only bad thing about this laptop is that its GPU doesn't support ray tracing, but it does support DirectX 12, but still. No ray tracing support, meaning that it won't launch the latest and greatest like Doom the Dark Ages. But then again, I mean, do you think this laptop can run? I mean, even modern $500 laptops will struggle with Doom the Dark Ages. But yeah, anyways, I think this laptop holds up pretty well, except for durability-wise. But in terms of performance-wise, it's pretty decent, alright? Anyway, see you next video, alright? And remember to